difference between a Palstar and an Expert 2K?
Well, anyone to buy the Expert 2K, that's 10 grand for an amplifier. That's too much.
You just imagine that $9,445 for a 2K amp.
Wow. Have you looked at that one, Phil?
Oh, yeah.
That's for the rich people in Europe.
They got more dollars than cents.
Where's that made, Bob? Is that made in Spain?
Is that what?
Is it manufactured in Spain?
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's not made in the USA. If I was to spend 10 grand on an amplifier, I'd be a broke expert.
I bet you there's no way in hell that you would ever need a repair on that thing. It's got so much safety stuff built into it, it'd scare you.
Yeah.
You'd be spending all your time figuring out what the hell's wrong.
No, I'd be spending all my time wondering why in the hell I spent 10 grand on it.
Well, if I
It's
had
listed as
control
2K, but the output's only 1,500.
There's quite a few people on that SDR tonight.
Oh, another ham, N7 OEP on 160.
Siempre está más fresco. Parece que subió como unos 78 nomás. Es igual, es un calorón. Pero sí, hoy subió un poquito más.
I'm just talking about the very basics, just so that somebody can't tell you you need this when you really don't need anything. Yeah, basically tell you how your brakes work, this is what the steering wheel does, and this is how the engine goes around, and this is what it's supposed to do, and if it doesn't do that, well, at least you know it's not doing the right thing. It doesn't have to be like how to change your oil or rebuild a head or anything, just the basics of understanding how it works. Right, all that stuff's for the kids that want to pursue it and just have an interest in it. Oh my gosh, not too long ago, about it wasn't this summer, but the summer before, I was going through town. That's town being Bishop, a little town, Bishop, California here, and over on the eastern side of the Sierra. And I made the mistake of going through town at lunchtime, and all the kids were out in their cars, and I almost got rear-ended because I stopped for a crosswalk person that was walking across the crosswalk. Several people, looked like tourists probably. But anyways, so I stopped on my motorcycle, and I was looking in the mirror, and man, I thought I was going to get rear-ended by a carload of girls, and I actually pulled over to the side to take a look at them, and they all were on cell phones.
Well, yeah, I know, it's part of the, you can't be on your cell phone. I mean, there's no, I don't see why you can't talk on the telephone while you're driving, but, you know, you're holding the phone and you gotta be dialing it and all that. That's a distraction. You know, amateur radio is not much different, but these hams are kind of trained in the concept. You got a technical person versus some you know, listener who's out cruising with her girlfriends.
Well, it was the first time that it actually changed my opinion about what's going on with cell phones and driving, and I agree with you 100%. I use my cell phone all the time, and I don't treat it any different than having a microphone in my hand. And but I also, you know, put it on speaker right away, and I don't have 3 or 4 other people in the vehicle yakking and causing distraction. But I think that was probably the case, and I'm not trying to pick on girls or, you know, young girls that are probably, you know, 16, 17 years old. I'm just saying what happened to me. It was a pretty enlightening event, you might say, because when you're on a Honda 650 and you're just about ready to get rear-ended, and then somebody at the last minute hits the brakes, that changes your opinion sometimes.
Well, at least they didn't hit you, you know. I mean, they had enough wherewithal to stop in time. I've had a few close calls myself, which, you know, I could have easily turned into an accident, but I don't use the phone while I'm driving. I don't hardly ever use the phone. I have a cell phone, but I rarely ever use it as a phone. All I use is the pocket TV. Remember the old pocket radios, the transistor radios? Well, my cell phone is my pocket TV. That's what I use it for mostly. Watching stuff.
Yeah, I just figured out that my ashtray holds my iPhone perfectly, and I've got an adapter that plugs it into the stereo and all that in my truck. Probably a bad thing, but anyways, I try not to use it while I'm cruising down lonely roads over here. We have a lot of lonely roads over here, though, and that's not an excuse, I know. But anyways, it's the only reason I even have a motorcycle license. I always wanted a motorcycle license when I lived in Southern California when I was younger. But I promised my wife I wouldn't do it because of the cross traffic. And I've got a little bit of a tunnel vision issue on my right side. I figured if I drove a motorcycle when I lived in Southern California, I'd be dead by now. But anyways, when we moved up here in the 80s, I got my class my M or whatever M addition to your license. I guess they call it Class M, not Class M. I don't know what it's called. Anyways, so I love riding up here, but we don't have the cross traffic up here. It's a lot of long roads where I live, and a lot of side roads and all that kind of stuff. KC6CHD. I'm gonna go check on my chicken pot pie in the oven. Be back.
Okay. This is WG6K.
It's been fun.
So, Mike, that's an Ole Miss net on 20 meters? Yeah, they've got them on 10, 15, 17, 20, 40, 80, and 160 in the wintertime. So they've got them on a lot of bands. You ever get DX stations checking in? Oh yeah. Yeah, we get several European ones, sometimes some South American ones on the 40-meter net, and a few of them on the 20. Not so much on the other ones. Actually, we got members that are in Europe that have Ole Miss numbers, so it's kind of interesting. And
try to contact that guy in Pitcairn. He's split, usually 10. You listen to him like on 17130 and transmit on 17140.
I was looking for that guy in Antarctica, but he wasn't there.
I haven't heard about him.
Yeah, he's on, God, what is it, 18, 17, something like that. He's there most afternoons. If the band's working.
Yeah, I hear 17 open up at 7:30 in the morning, and I talked to a guy in Pitcairn there, and 4:15 in the afternoon on the big radio. But anyway, yeah, 17. I didn't hear anything today, but I think I had it on lower instead of upper. Maybe that's why.
You haven't talked to him for a year. He's at the Myrtle Station, but I keep checking it.
Is that something you find on the internet that he's on there?
No, I just found him one day messing around the radio.
you might check the DX cluster and see if anybody's working them.
That's cheating.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree. I don't do it, but a lot of people do.
I spin the knob.
You know, it took a long time for me to find an Antarctic station. I never did have a real good copy on them.
You should talk to him on 11 meters.
This guy's on 17 almost every day. Not every day, but almost every day. And it's about, trying to remember, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon here when he used to be on. But like I say, I haven't talked to him for a year.
Well, he may have shipped out.
Yeah, when was the last time you heard him?
That was a year ago. He might be gone. I don't know.
Yeah, don't they do a lot of rotating down there?
I would think so.
I don't know.
It seems to me they try to make room for other researchers coming in, so they constantly rotate. I don't know whether it's every season or bi-seasonal or what.
He wasn't a researcher. He was an electrician, maintenance guy.
Yeah, I bet he was down there under contract from a bigger company.
Yeah, I go to that Antarctica auction every 2 years, and and so he called me on the phone and he said, hey, this guy is complaining like over and over that you're bleeding over on his radio. And it doesn't matter what what band he's on. He can hear you, and he said something's wrong with your radio. And I said, that's funny. I mean, I think at the time I was on a modern radio, like an ICOM or something. And long story short, he had an old Kenwood 430, and I guess it had some problems. They ended up taking him a loaner radio, and then he never heard me again.
Oh yeah, quick to blame everybody else for your crap, or their crap, but not the fact that maybe it was their own. That's just awesome.
Yeah, he had an old Kenwood 430, and I mean, that's a decent radio, but I mean, something was wrong with his. Because one of the guys that he talked to said, well, let's try, you know, a different radio, and they brought him some kind of loaner. I don't know what the hell it was. And then the guy called me up about a week later, and he said, well, they brought the old man a loaner radio, and he's never heard you again, so the 430 is going to go in the shop. I said, all right, cool.
See, your radio sounds like shit.
That guy was relentless, man. Every single time I got on, there he'd be. Have you had to follow me much?
Yeah, a little bit, but whatever. No, I don't really care.
Yeah, I haven't touched it, so it is where it is. I mean, I haven't touched the Invader in, I don't know, 2 hours, so wherever it's moved.
Yeah, it's not really like too far off, just, you know, it gets high, it gets low, but I know that's from either long key or short key, and it doesn't really matter, even long key on this one. I just think, I don't have no fans on the twins. I have them spread apart enough, thinking that, you know, the temperature should be a little bit more consistent in here, but it's still 85 damn degrees in here, so I'm just running the way they need to run, get the normal temperature up on it. I know the Invader kind of moves on its own from long key, and that's drastic.
To look forward to.
Yeah, I heard about that. I never dreamt of Christmas music being played by tubas before.
Yeah, it's very entertaining, to say the least. So they have one in Bakersfield. They have a couple here in Los Angeles. They have one in Ventura, one in Santa Barbara. The one in Bakersfield is very lean because it's not a big city, but nevertheless still interesting. The funny thing about those events is the troubadours, they call them, the people who play the tubas, they have to pay to be able to play their tubas, but the people who come in the tent to watch them, they can watch for free.
Really? That's quite an interesting concept.
Yeah, I guess the concept is they need to pay the public to listen to their miserable sounds. Well, the tubas are quite all right. They sound all right. They just very monotonic, low sound, entertaining.
Yeah, kind of. It sounds like it's kind of at the same scale as Jingle Bells by the Barking Dog.
Yeah, when you have about 100 troubadours playing at the same time, the same tune, all you'll hear is one continuous drone. And it's not easy to tell the notes apart, but that's what makes it entertaining.
You know, make this house look back like a home instead of, you know, a wire factory. Over. Oh yeah, well I know you gotta deal with that. If you want to keep the wife, you gotta keep her happy. I, on the other hand, have decided to keep myself happy and let the wife go. Hi. But you know. Did you say that you had like a DXCCD antenna, or what are you using for your antenna?
Oh yeah, I am using a CCD antenna. It's a 80-40 dipole. It's made out of 92-inch wire segments separated by, I forget the value of the capacitors, but a couple of hams here that run 7204 have the 2040 flavor of the same antenna, and I was always so impressed with what they could hear and who they could contact that I decided to build this. I don't have it in an optimum configuration. I had to run it around the property in a horseshoe shape, but so far it works out pretty well. I'm very happy with it. Over.
What's the total length on the thing? Because it really sounds good. You know, I don't know how to compare it to, you know, to anyone else, because there's really no one else in Reno on the air right now.
Yeah, roger that. It's a long one. It's 230 feet long. But it's kind of crazy to get up. But I have compared it against an 80-meter loop, 265-foot 80-meter loop in the exact same mounting locations. I just pulled the loop down and put the CCD back up this evening and started to play on the radio. And I was taken aback at of course, conditions are changing, but that how well the CCD worked compared to the loop I just took down. Over.
Oh, that's great to know. That's a good comparison to what I'm using. I have a 141-foot loop that is tuned for 40 meters, and it will work on 60 meters fairly well, but it doesn't do anything at all on 80. Of course, that's not hard to realize. It's you know, made for 140 meters, or I mean 40 meters, and it's about 141 feet long. But I tried a couple of dipoles and a couple of other antennas, and I stuck with this one, the loop here, because it's just so much more quiet, and for me it was a little bit easier to keep it suspended up in the air, because I've got 4 support corners, and if the wind really comes up hard, I just loosen things up and kind of let the antenna flap in the wind, so to say. In fact, that's what it's doing right now. I've got it sagging. It's definitely not in its best position, but still seems to work. So, do you feel like you actually pick up better, or at least as good as your loop? Then is that correct? And I guess the capacitors at every, I forgot. Did you say every 92 inches? Does that help with noise and stuff? Do you think, Tony?
You know, Ted, I don't know. I was just so impressed with, there's 3 hams here, Scotty, John, and Pete, that join up on Saturday nights of this frequency 7204. And then there's some other, they do it other nights as well, but they run those. That's why I got on it. I don't know why it works. I've met or talked to a lot of people that poo-poo the idea, but I've tried so many different antennas, and some really work well, but I thought the loop might really be the ticket. It was a horizontal loop, not a vertical loop, and because I could put it up basically in the same place that I had the CCD, I've been playing a fair bit on the, Ole Miss net, and of course, you know, copying a lot of folks from the East Coast and even up into the New England states. And with the loop, of course, conditions have really changed over the last couple of weeks. I was really having a tough time, and I put the CCD back up tonight, and I checked in, and one of the relays said, "My gosh, Tony, you're loud tonight." That kind of gave me a little bit more feedback and support that the antenna was working. Over.
Contact. Yeah, I can hear a contact in there, so we'll let him go here in a second. Yes, that's good to know. I'm always looking for, you know, the next best thing, and I had an inverted V up at about 65 feet at the apex, and that thing got out all over the place. It did at least as well as this loop. but it didn't, it was way noisy, and also it seemed like it was a lot more directional. It had some directions it did really well, and then some that didn't do so well, and when I put this loop up, it just made all the difference as far as everybody being able to hear me in all different directions, and then it got so much quieter. But I'll do some information, or I'll do some looking up on some information on the CCD type antenna, because it sounds like, well, another thing, have you ever thought about maybe running that thing in a loop configuration? And let's go ahead and pick up the contact before we lose him. I don't know if the band is going to be bouncing up and down, but go ahead, contact.
Oh, real fine, guys. Call sign Whiskey After 7 Victor India Zulu in Klamath Falls, Oregon. So I've been listening in on your thing. I do have a loop antenna as well as a dipole up. But I'm curious on Tony, on his, is it a PCD, a Papa Charlie Dog antenna? Is that the acronym for it? Over?
The Whiskey X-Ray 7 Victor Echo Zulu. No, it is a Charlie Delta. When you do some research on it online, there's not really much going on. There's a couple of websites that talk about it. It's a very mysterious antenna, but the one bit of information you can get is from the previous builders of a lot of these CCD antennas down in Arizona, and they have the whole set up with all the specs and everything else. And of course, you know, these silly antennas are so subjective, but I've been pretty happy with mine. Over.
Roger. So I copy Charlie Dog antenna, and I should be able to find that on the internet. Over.
Yeah, roger that. Yeah, if you look up CCD antenna, there's a place, I forget what it's called, but they're down in Arizona, and it's just a wealth of information on the antenna. And again, I don't know that it'd work for everybody. I'm, you know, like I say, it's all subjective, but I sure like it. Over.
Yeah, roger. Well, I'm really partial to loops, but I put up a loop antenna this time, and I got about close to 300 feet of wire up, and I'm having a hard time tuning it up. I have a Pelstar tuner, and it usually would tune a bed spring, but having a hard time getting that thing tuned up on that. And then the other thing, and you might enlighten me a little bit, you know, Ted down there in Utah, Ted, you said you had a dipole up too, but my noise level is about an S05, S6, both on the dipole and on the loop, which I would think the loop would be a little quieter. Over.
Checking for double. You there, Tony? Okay, well, you know, it just depends on the type of noise, I guess, but just the regular hash and just the regular noise that I hear online, or on the air, I should say, my dipole was just always running right up almost 2 full S units louder than my loop, and also the signals that came from you know, regular stations that are transmitting. The loop was also at least 1 to 2 S units louder than a dipole. So the bottom line is there was absolutely no comparison whatsoever for me on the amount of noise between the dipole and the loop. But, you know, the dipole, it was up there in the air, and I had the apex, you know, where the feed point was up at about almost 60 feet. And it put some really, really strong signals onto the East Coast from here in Salt Lake City. And the loop, I don't think, quite matches it as far as the output, but the amount of quiet and the fact that I can hear 500-600% more signals than I could with the dipole. So Anyway, that was my experience. I didn't get your name written down, and I'm not sure I have your call right. Is it Whiskey Alpha 7 Victor Echo Zulu?
Negative. It's Whiskey After 7 Victor India Zulu, VIZ. And the handle is George, and the QTH is in Klamath Falls, Oregon. We just